Every great journey starts not with a miracle, not with luck, not even with talent. It starts with a single decision to try again and again until something changes. People often believe that greatness belongs only to the chosen few, the rich, the talented, the privileged. But the truth is, greatness belongs to those who choose to create habits that others are too lazy, too fearful, or too distracted to build. You don't need a lifetime to change. You only need 30 days. 30 days of absolute focus can transform you from ordinary to extraordinary. Because real change doesn't come from a big leap. It comes from a small, consistent step, repeated every single day until it becomes who you are. Consistency over intensity. This is where the true transformation begins. It sounds simple, almost too simple, and yet it is the hardest truth for most people to accept. Everyone wants change, but few are willing to do the same thing with the same effort every single day, even when it feels boring, thankless, or invisible. People want to run fast, but they don't want to walk daily. They want to see results in a week, but they don't want to stay consistent for a month. The world is full of starters, but painfully short on finishers. And this is why the difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary is not talent, not opportunity, not even intelligence. It's consistency. The world remembers the ones who stayed when others left, who kept working when others rested, who believed when others doubted. Think of it this way: a drop of water by itself is weak, but when it falls in the same spot every single day, it carves through stone. That's the power of consistency. It transforms the impossible into the inevitable. Intensity burns bright for a moment, but consistency burns forever. You can't build a masterpiece in one night, but you can lay a single brick every day, and before long, you'll have a fortress no one can tear down. The problem with most people is that they chase intensity. They go all in for a few days, waking up early, working out, reading books, starting new projects, and then when the excitement fades, they stop. But the extraordinary understand something the ordinary forget. It's not about how fast you start, it's about how long you keep going. Consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't give you instant applause or viral moments. No one will celebrate you for waking up early for 30 straight days. No one will pat you on the back for choosing discipline over comfort. But the results will. Your future self will. The person you become will. That's why consistency is not about proving something to others. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about teaching your mind that when you say you'll do something, you mean it. It's about earning your own trust. You see, once you commit to a small daily habit, you begin to reshape your identity. You stop identifying as someone who tries and start becoming someone who does. If you decide to read for 20 minutes every night, you're not just reading, you're becoming a learner. If you choose to exercise daily, you're not just moving, you're becoming disciplined. The habit isn't just something you do, it's something that changes who you are. The magic isn't in the act, it's in the repetition. Because repetition builds mastery, and mastery builds confidence. But let's be honest, consistency is hard. It's not that people can't do it, it's that they get bored. They want excitement. They want progress that they can see. But success doesn't shout, it whispers. It grows in the dark where nobody sees. The tree doesn't sprout overnight, its roots grow silently underground. The same is true for you. When you're consistent, you may not see results right away, but you're growing roots, mental, emotional, and spiritual roots that will hold you firm when storms come. The first few days are easy. The excitement is new, the motivation is high. The challenge begins around day 10, when your mind starts to whisper, does this even matter? That's the moment where most people stop. They convince themselves that skipping one day won't hurt. But that's where the habit dies. Because it's never about that one day. It's about what it represents. It represents a broken promise to yourself. And once you start breaking promises to yourself, you start breaking your future. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means persistence. Some days you'll move fast, some days you'll crawl. But as long as you're moving, you're growing. A step forward on a bad day is still progress. Even the smallest effort compounds. Think of compound interest, not just in money, but in actions. Every small effort, repeated daily, compounds into something massive. Read 10 pages a day, and in a year you've read more than 3,000 pages. Save a small amount every day, and soon you'll have more than most who never start. The extraordinary are not doing giant things. They're doing small things consistently until those small things become unstoppable momentum. There's a quiet power that lives inside those who practice consistency. They don't rush. They don't panic. They understand that time is their greatest ally because they've learned that when you show up daily, time rewards you. Time multiplies your effort. The person who trains for 30 minutes every day will always outperform the one who trains for 3 hours once a week. Why? Because consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds mastery. Once you gain momentum, life begins to move with you, not against you. Opportunities start appearing. People start noticing. Confidence starts growing. But there's something deeper that happens when you commit to being consistent. It changes your relationship with failure. When you're consistent, failure becomes just another day, not the end of your story. You stop fearing mistakes because you know you'll try again tomorrow. You stop being crushed by setbacks because you know this isn't your final attempt. Consistency gives you resilience. It teaches you patience. It helps you fall in love with the process rather than the outcome. And the moment you fall in love with the process, you win. Because while everyone else chases results, you're quietly building a foundation that no one can take away. There's a saying that if you can't commit to something for 30 days, you're not serious about your dream. Because 30 days is not eternity, it's proof. If you can't show up for a month, how will you show up for a lifetime? Consistency is your audition for success. Every single day you show up, you're sending a message to the universe that says, I'm serious, I'm ready, I'm here for the long game. And when the universe sees that, it begins to open doors that were once closed. Remember this, consistency is not a skill, it's a decision. You don't need to be the best. You just need to be there every day. Show up tired, show up afraid, show up uninspired, but show up. Because one day you'll look back and realize that every small effort, every tiny action, every seemingly meaningless repetition was building something extraordinary. You'll realize that greatness didn't arrive one day. It was being built all along in the quiet hours, in the routine, in the persistence that no one saw. The ordinary chase intensity. They sprint for a while, then fall. The extraordinary choose consistency. They walk every day, and one day they realize they've crossed mountains. The difference is not in ability, but in patience. The world belongs not to those who start fast, but to those who never stop. So choose consistency. Choose to show up when it's inconvenient, when it's dull, when it feels hopeless. Choose to trust the process even when the results are invisible. Because consistency is not about what you get in 30 days, it's about who you become in those 30 days. And that person, the one who keeps promises to themselves, who doesn't quit, who does what needs to be done no matter what, that person is unstoppable. That person is extraordinary. Discipline over motivation. This is the invisible bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It is not built on excitement, not on feelings, not on bursts of energy that fade with the setting sun. It is built on decision, on the quiet promise you make to yourself and keep even when nobody's watching. Motivation is like a spark. It burns bright, but it dies fast. Discipline is the flame that stays alive through the coldest nights. It doesn't rely on how you feel. It simply does what must be done. That's why the people who achieve greatness are not necessarily the most motivated. They are the most disciplined. They show up whether it rains or shines, whether they're celebrated or ignored, whether they feel like it or not. Most people misunderstand motivation. They think they need to feel inspired before they act. They wait for the perfect moment, the right song, the right mood, the right sign from life. But those moments are rare, and they never last long. Discipline is different. Discipline doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. It creates them. It doesn't care about the weather, the mood, or the applause. Discipline says, this is what I said I would do, and I will do it, even if I don't feel like it. That's the moment when power is born, not in excitement, but in obedience to your vision. The truth is, motivation is an emotion, and emotions are unreliable. They rise and fall with your circumstances. You feel motivated after watching a great video, reading a powerful quote, or hearing a moving story, but the next morning, when life feels heavy, motivation disappears. Discipline, on the other hand, is like gravity. It's constant. It anchors you when your emotions swing from one extreme to another. It doesn't need permission from your feelings to act. Discipline doesn't care if you're tired. It cares if you keep your word. It doesn't care if you're scared. It cares if you keep moving forward. That's why people who rely on motivation live inconsistent lives. They start fast but fade early. People who rely on discipline live consistent lives. They may start slow, but they always finish strong. Think of it like this: motivation is the wind that pushes the ship forward when it blows, but discipline is the engine that keeps the ship moving when the sea is still. The ocean of success has many calm days, days when there's no wind, no excitement, no applause. If you depend on motivation, you'll drift. But if you have discipline, you'll keep moving even when the world is silent. The ordinary stop when the wind stops. The extraordinary build their own engine. When you build discipline, you stop being a slave to your moods. You stop asking, do I feel like doing this? And start saying, it doesn't matter how I feel. I'll do it anyway. That mindset is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Because feelings come and go, but discipline stays. You may not control how you feel, but you can always control what you do. That's where your real strength lies, in doing the right thing, even when it's the hardest thing. The first test of discipline comes when the excitement fades. When the plan you started with begins to feel repetitive, when nobody notices your effort, that's when your mind whispers, take a break. It won't matter, but it always matters. Every skipped day weakens the chain. Every completed day strengthens it. Discipline is like building muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. And just like muscles, it grows under pressure, not comfort. When you push yourself to show up, even when it hurts, even when you'd rather quit, that's when your true transformation begins. People often say they lack motivation, but what they really lack is discipline disguised as patience. Discipline doesn't demand instant rewards. It's a long-term investment. It's what makes you wake up at 5 a.m. when your bed feels like heaven. It's what makes you read when your eyes are heavy. It's what makes you train when everyone else is resting. Discipline doesn't give you short-term pleasure. It gives you lifelong pride. The results of discipline don't show up today, but they will show up one day, and when they do, they stay. Motivation gives you speed. Discipline gives you direction. Motivation gives you a spark. Discipline gives you a legacy. There will be days when you question yourself. Days when progress feels invisible. Days when your effort seems to go unrewarded. That's the trap that breaks most people. They mistake slow progress for no progress. But discipline doesn't chase results. It chases consistency, because it understands that the results are a natural byproduct of persistence. The seed you plant today doesn't grow tomorrow, but if you water it daily, it will one day become a tree. Discipline is the watering. It's the act of faith that says, even if I can't see it yet, I know it's growing. When you commit to discipline for 30 days, something extraordinary happens. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop arguing with your mind about whether to act or rest. Action becomes automatic. It becomes part of your identity. You start seeing yourself not as someone who tries, but as someone who finishes. That's when you become unstoppable, because self-discipline is self-respect. It's you proving to yourself that your word means something, that you can trust yourself, that you can rely on yourself, and once you trust yourself, you no longer need external validation. You no longer need someone to motivate you. You become your own source of energy. But discipline isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about being loyal to your future self. Every time you act with discipline, you're making a deposit into your future. You're building the life you said you wanted. You're building credibility with your own soul. The ordinary live in the present, chasing comfort. The extraordinary live for the future, building purpose. Discipline is the bridge that connects both. It lets you enjoy today because you've earned tomorrow. You don't have to be the smartest, the strongest, or the luckiest. You just have to be consistent and disciplined. That's it. That's the formula every successful person lives by. It's not magic, it's math. You do the right thing repeatedly and time multiplies your results. The world may not reward you instantly, but time always does. Every drop of sweat, Every moment of effort, every act of discipline, it all compounds. And one day, it shows up in your health, your success, your peace of mind. Discipline teaches you to lead yourself before you lead others. It teaches you to master your time, your energy, your emotions. Because the truth is, if you can't control yourself, you can't control your life. Most people fail not because they don't have opportunities, but because they don't have control. They can't control their urges, their impulses, their distractions. But when you develop discipline, you take back control. You decide what matters. You decide what gets your attention. You become the driver of your destiny, not the passenger. When the alarm rings and you rise before the world wakes up, that's discipline. When you study while others scroll, that's discipline. When you keep going after a setback, that's discipline. And every single time you choose it, you move one step further away from the ordinary and one step closer to the extraordinary. Because discipline, at its core, is freedom. Freedom from laziness, from excuses, from mediocrity. Freedom from the chains of your own weakness. It doesn't limit your life, it liberates it. So don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for motivation to strike. The longer you wait, the weaker your dream becomes. Start now. Start when it's hard. Start when it's uncomfortable. Start when your mind screams, not today. Because every time you start despite the resistance, you win. The power of discipline is not in grand gestures. It's in the small, invisible victories that no one sees. The nights you stayed focused. The mornings you showed up. The times you refused to give up. That's what builds legends, not luck, not talent, but discipline. It's the unseen force that separates those who live their dreams from those who just talk about them. It's the reason some people rise from nothing and others waste their potential. And it's available to everyone if you're willing to pay the price. The truth is, discipline doesn't get easier, you just get stronger. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. And one day, what once felt like sacrifice will feel like routine. What once felt impossible will feel inevitable. That's when you'll understand the real secret. Discipline isn't punishment, it's love. Love for your dream, love for your potential, love for the person you're becoming. So make discipline your daily companion. Treat it like the most loyal friend you'll ever have. Because when motivation disappears, discipline will still be there, quietly waiting to guide you forward. The ordinary wait to feel ready, the extraordinary act until they are ready. That's the difference. That's the truth. And that's the 30-day habit that transforms everything, learning over perfection. This is the mindset that separates those who evolve from those who remain trapped in their comfort zones. The truth is, perfection is an illusion. It's a trap disguised as a goal, a shiny cage that stops you from beginning, growing, or daring. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they wait to be perfect before they start. They want the perfect timing, the perfect plan, the perfect environment, the perfect version of themselves. But life never waits for perfection. It rewards the brave, the curious, and the ones who are willing to learn along the way. Learning is the oxygen of growth. The moment you stop learning, you stop living. Yet, so many people choose perfection over progress, and in doing so, they rob themselves of the most powerful gift life offers, the ability to evolve. Think about it, every master you admire was once a beginner. Every expert once stumbled. Every success story started with failure, confusion, and uncertainty. The difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is not that one is smarter than the other. It's that one was willing to learn through imperfection. Perfectionists wait for the stars to align. Learners create their own light. Perfectionists dream about results. Learners focus on improvement. When you commit to learning every single day for 30 days, even if you make mistakes, even if you fail repeatedly, you begin to rewire your mind. You stop asking, am I good enough? And start asking, what can I learn today? That question alone can change your life. Because the person who is always learning can never lose. Even failure becomes progress when you treat it as a lesson. Perfection tells you to stay safe, to avoid mistakes, to protect your ego. But learning tells you to try, to experiment, to get your hands dirty. The ordinary chase approval, the extraordinary chase improvement. One hides behind fear, the other grows through it. Perfection wants control, learning embraces chaos. The path to mastery is not a straight line. It's messy, unpredictable, and uncomfortable. But that's exactly why it works, because discomfort is the birthplace of growth. You can't become great while staying comfortable. You can't learn anything new if you already think you know everything. When you embrace learning, you give yourself permission to be human, to make errors, to look foolish, to fail forward. And this humility becomes your strength. The reason most people never start their dreams isn't because they don't want them. It's because they're afraid to look imperfect while chasing them. They fear judgment, ridicule, and rejection. But here's the truth. People will always judge. Whether you do something or not, they'll talk. So why not be judged for doing something that helps you grow? Why not be misunderstood for becoming better? Every failure is a teacher in disguise. Every setback holds a lesson that success could never teach you. The problem is most people are too busy feeling embarrassed to listen. They take failure personally instead of educationally. They think a mistake means they're not good enough, when in reality, it means they're getting closer. The only real failure is refusing to learn, because life doesn't punish you for mistakes, it punishes you for not learning from them. When you start a new skill, habit, or project, you'll stumble. That's normal. But if you keep going, if you learn from every misstep, you'll start improving without even realizing it. Day by day, you'll notice changes in your confidence, in your thinking, in your patience. You'll begin to see progress not as perfection, but as motion. You'll start measuring success by growth, not by applause. And that's when you become unstoppable, because no failure can destroy someone who refuses to stop learning. People who chase perfection live in fear. People who chase learning live in freedom. Fear makes you hesitate. Freedom makes you experiment. Perfection creates paralysis. Learning creates momentum. The moment you let go of needing to be perfect, you free yourself to take action. Action leads to results. Results lead to feedback, and feedback leads to wisdom. That's the cycle of success. Try, fail, learn, adjust, and repeat. Every great innovator, athlete, or leader you admire lives by that rhythm. They don't chase flawless execution. They chase constant evolution. Think of a child learning to walk. They fall hundreds of times. But they don't quit. They don't say, "I'm not good at walking." They get up, smile, and try again. And with every fall, their muscles grow stronger. With every failure, their brain learns balance. That's the secret of growth. You don't become great by avoiding the fall. You become great by standing up one more time, then you fall. The same rule applies to everything in life, business, relationships, creativity, fitness, leadership, everything. In the next 30 days, commit not to perfection, but to learning. Every day, do one thing that stretches your mind. Read a new book, ask better questions, learn from people smarter than you, try something that scares you. Write down your mistakes and what they taught you. Instead of saying, "I failed," say, "I learned." Because when you shift your language, you shift your mindset. And when your mindset changes, your world does too. Many people wait for confidence before taking action, but confidence is not the cause. It's the result. You don't become confident by waiting. You become confident by learning, by failing, by improving. Every lesson you learn adds another layer to your confidence. That's why those who chase learning grow stronger, while those who chase perfection grow tired. Perfection demands immediate success. Learning builds sustainable success. It's important to understand that perfection is rooted in ego, but learning is rooted in humility. Perfection says, "I already know." Learning says, "Teach me more." Perfection wants validation. Learning wants transformation. Ego builds walls. Humility builds bridges. When you stop trying to prove you're perfect, you open yourself to becoming powerful. Power doesn't come from pretending to know. It comes from being willing to grow. The greatest inventors in history failed more times than they succeeded. The greatest athletes missed more shots than they scored. The greatest entrepreneurs faced rejection hundreds of times. What made them unstoppable was not perfection, it was their hunger to learn. Every mistake taught them something that success never could. Every rejection revealed something they needed to improve. And with each lesson, they got better, sharper, wiser. That's what 30 days of learning does. It builds a foundation that failure can't shake. When you embrace the mindset of a learner, You stop being afraid of making mistakes because you understand that mistakes are not the end, they're feedback. You begin to view challenges as opportunities to expand, not threats to your ego. You start celebrating effort instead of results. You stop asking, did I win? And start asking, did I grow? And that single shift changes everything. Because in the long run, growth always leads to winning. Perfection seeks applause, learning seeks progress, and progress always beats perfection. Because perfection freezes you at the starting line, while learning carries you across the finish line. The people who wait to be perfect never begin. The people who dare to learn never stop. At the end of your 30-day journey, you'll notice something extraordinary. You'll not only have learned more, but you'll have become someone new. You'll be braver, more patient, more resilient. You'll start to see yourself differently. Not as someone who needs to have it all figured out, but as someone who has the courage to figure it out. You'll begin to love the process of becoming, rather than obsessing over the destination. Remember this, perfection ends the moment you start learning, because learning is never complete, it's a lifelong journey. The more you learn, the more you realize how much there is to learn. That humility keeps you grounded, that curiosity keeps you alive, and that persistence keeps you rising, no matter how many times you fall. So let go of perfection. It's not your friend, it's your prison. Embrace learning. It's not a path to success, it is success. Every lesson you learn becomes a weapon against fear, a tool for growth, and a step toward mastery. The extraordinary are not those who do everything right, they're those who keep learning even when everything goes wrong. That's the secret. That's the mindset. And that's the 30-day habit that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Mindset over circumstance. This is the point where true transformation begins, where the ordinary ends and the extraordinary is born. Life will never hand you perfect conditions. It will never arrange itself conveniently around your dreams. The world will always test you, distract you, and sometimes even break you before it blesses you. But the truth is, your reality is not shaped by your circumstances, it's shaped by how you think about them. Two people can face the same storm, one collapses and the other learns to dance in the rain. The difference is not in the storm, it's in the mindset. There are countless people who blame their circumstances for their failures. They say, I wasn't born into the right family. I don't have enough money. I don't have the time. Or I don't have support. These words are comfortable excuses that keep them in the same place year after year. But those who rise above average know something simple yet powerful. Life doesn't care where you start, it cares how you think. Your mindset is your steering wheel. It decides where your life goes. The same environment that destroys one person can strengthen another. The same pressure that breaks coal can create diamonds. Your thoughts are your greatest power. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. Every situation offers two choices: to be a victim or to be a student. Victims see problems, students see lessons. Victims say, why me? Students say, what is this teaching me? When you start asking the right questions, life starts giving you the right answers. Circumstances are temporary, but your mindset can turn any temporary pain into permanent power. When you face a setback, you have two options. You can let it define you, or you can let it refine you. You can let it break your spirit, or you can let it build your strength. The strongest people are not those who never fell. They are those who learned how to stand up again every single time. They trained their minds to find opportunity inside the chaos. They refuse to let their situation dictate their spirit. That's what mindset does. It gives you control when everything else feels out of control. Some people wait for life to get easier before they try harder. But the truth is, life doesn't get easier, you just get stronger. Every obstacle you overcome adds another layer to your mental armor. Every time you push through hardship, you train your brain to fight back, to stay calm, to stay focused. That's how warriors are built, not through comfort, but through challenge. Circumstances can build walls, but mindset builds doors. And sometimes, all it takes is one shift in thought to turn a dead end into a new beginning. When you start believing that everything happening to you is happening vice for you, your entire life changes. Suddenly, failure becomes feedback. Rejection becomes redirection. Struggle becomes preparation. You begin to see every challenge as part of your growth. You stop complaining and start creating. You stop comparing and start focusing, because your power doesn't come from what you have. It comes from what you think. The truth is, the world is filled with people who had every reason to give up, but didn't. People who grew up poor but built empires. People who were told no, but created their own less. People who were laughed at, doubted, and rejected, yet turned that pain into purpose. They weren't lucky, they were mentally unstoppable. They understood that their external situation was temporary, but their internal belief was permanent. When your mindset is stronger than your circumstance, the impossible becomes possible. You see, mindset is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about believing you can handle the imperfect. It's not about ignoring your problems. It's about facing them with strength and clarity. When things go wrong, most people panic. They freeze, they complain, they look for someone to blame. But those with the right mindset take a breath, analyze, adapt, and move forward. They understand that storms are part of the journey. You can't control the wind, but you can control how you adjust your sails. If you want to transform your life in 30 days, start by mastering your mind. Begin each morning by choosing your attitude before the world chooses it for you. When you wake up, don't ask, "What will happen to me today?" Ask, "How will I respond today?" Because your day is not defined by what occurs. It's defined by how you think through it. Every challenge you meet with courage rewires your brain for strength. Every setback you respond to with patience rewires your heart for resilience. And every time you choose gratitude over complaint, you train your soul for abundance. People often think success is about resources. But the truth is, it's about resourcefulness. The richest resource you'll ever have is your mindset. You can take away a person's job, their comfort, even their possessions. But if you can't take away their mindset, they will rebuild everything stronger and better. That's why the greatest gift you can give yourself is not more comfort, but more clarity. Not more luxury, but more resilience. Not a better circumstance, but a better way of thinking. Circumstances will always change. Sometimes they'll lift you, sometimes they'll crush you. But if your mindset remains unshakable, you'll never be defeated. When your mind believes in your strength, your body follows. When your mind believes in your dream, your actions align. When your mind believes in your future, the universe conspires to make it real. So, when life gets hard, when you feel lost, when it feels like everything is against you, pause and remember this moment is not the end. It's the training ground for your next level. Every great story begins with struggle. Every hero was once broken. Every victory was born out of chaos. You may not control your situation, but you control your story. You can decide what this moment means. You can decide whether this chapter breaks you or builds you. And when people say, "You can't," smile and say, "Watch me." When life says, "It's over," whisper, "I'm just getting started." Because your mindset can turn every no into a new direction, every ending into a fresh beginning. That's the real power of perspective. It doesn't erase pain, but it transforms it into purpose. Mindset is your greatest weapon in a world full of unpredictability. You can lose your money, your job, your support, even your confidence for a moment. But if you never lose your mindset, you'll always find a way back. Because everything external can be rebuilt by someone with internal strength. And that strength doesn't come from books or luck. It comes from discipline, resilience, and belief in your ability to adapt. There's a simple rule: whatever you feed grows. If you feed fear, fear will control you. If you feed doubt, doubt will blind you. But if you feed faith, courage, and gratitude, they'll lead you forward no matter the obstacle. Your thoughts become your habits. Your habits become your identity. Your identity becomes your destiny. That's why the extraordinary don't wait for better circumstances. They create them from within. Don't wait for your environment to change. Change your environment by changing your energy. Don't wish for an easier life. Build a stronger mind. Don't wait for people to believe in you. Believe in yourself so deeply that doubt becomes irrelevant. The moment you shift your mindset, everything begins to move in your favor. You start seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. You start finding hope where others find despair. You start realizing that life isn't happening to you. It's responding to you. At the end of these 30 days, if you truly master your mindset, your life will feel different. Problems won't disappear, but they won't control you anymore. You'll face the same situations, but with a completely different power. Because your strength will no longer depend on the world, it will come from within you. That's when you become unstoppable. That's when you move from ordinary to extraordinary. Remember this truth: your mindset is your reality. Change your thoughts, and you change your world. The extraordinary don't have perfect lives, they have powerful minds. And that, more than anything else, is what transforms circumstance into success, pain into purpose, and struggle into strength. Purpose over pressure. That's the difference between those who burn out and those who break through. Most people live their lives reacting to pressure-laden deadlines, expectations, comparisons, failures, and the constant noise of a world that never stops demanding more. But those who rise to greatness don't move because of pressure, they move because of purpose. They are not driven by fear of losing, they are guided by the fire of meaning. Purpose is what transforms chaos into clarity, confusion into conviction, and pressure into power. You see, pressure is temporary, but purpose is permanent. Pressure makes you question yourself, but purpose reminds you why you started. Pressure drains your energy, but purpose fuels your spirit. Every person who has ever achieved something remarkable has faced unimaginable pressure, the kind that breaks ordinary minds. But they endured because their reason was stronger than their resistance. They didn't run from the weight, they grew stronger under it. They didn't crumble when the world doubted them, they turned that doubt into determination. That's the power of purpose. It gives meaning to pain. When you wake up each morning without purpose, even small challenges feel heavy. You feel lost, tired, distracted, and uncertain. You chase success because you think it will fill the emptiness inside. You compare your life with others and wonder why you're behind. But when you have purpose, even the hardest days feel like part of a bigger plan. You stop chasing validation because you already know your direction. You stop comparing because your race is your own. You stop fearing failure because your mission is bigger than one mistake. Purpose doesn't always come in a sudden spark or some grand revelation. Sometimes it's born in quiet moments, through small acts, through struggle and reflection. It's that inner whisper that says, you're meant for more. It's that pull that keeps you moving when everyone else stops. The problem is, most people ignore that voice. They bury it under comfort, under fear, under society's expectations. They chase what looks successful instead of what feels meaningful. And in doing so, they lose the very thing that makes life worth living: purpose. Pressure tells you to quit when things get hard. Purpose tells you to keep going because it matters. Pressure is external. It comes from people, deadlines, and demands. Purpose is internal. It's your compass, your guiding light. When your purpose is clear, no external pressure can break you, because you're no longer doing it for applause, for money, or for validation. You're doing it because it's who you are. You're doing it because it's your mission. And when your mission becomes personal, every obstacle becomes fuel. Look around. Most people are tired, not because they're working too much, but because they're working without meaning. They wake up, go through routines, and chase goals that don't belong to them. They measure their worth by how busy they are, not by how fulfilled they feel. But the truth is, energy doesn't come from caffeine or motivation. It comes from alignment. When your actions align with your purpose, you don't need to push yourself, the purpose pulls you. It becomes a force that carries you through exhaustion, setbacks, and doubt. Think about it. A person with no purpose sees pressure as punishment, but a person with purpose sees pressure as preparation. The same situation can destroy one person and strengthen another. The difference lies in what they believe it's for. If you think you're suffering for nothing, you'll break. But if you believe your suffering is shaping you for something greater, you'll rise. That's why people with purpose don't escape pain. They embrace it because they know it's part of the process. Purpose gives direction to your discipline. It turns routine into ritual. It makes ordinary tasks meaningful when you know your why. Even the most difficult how becomes bearable. The road might be long, but every step feels significant because you know where it leads. Without purpose, discipline feels like a burden. But with purpose, discipline becomes devotion. You stop asking, how long will it take? And start saying, as long as it takes. People often ask, how do I find my purpose? The answer is not found in luxury or comfort. It's found in service, in struggle, in creation. Purpose is not something you find. It's something you build. It's born when you use your pain to help others, when you turn your lessons into light for someone else's darkness. It's discovered when you ask yourself not, what do I want to get? But what do I want to give? Because real purpose is never selfish. It's always connected to something bigger than yourself. Pressure focuses on the outcome. Purpose focuses on the impact. When you live with purpose, success becomes a byproduct, not the goal. You start to understand that fulfillment doesn't come from what you have. It comes from who you become. You stop counting trophies and start counting transformations. You stop chasing titles and start chasing truth. You stop worrying about being the best in the world and start working on being the best for the world. There will be moments when pressure feels unbearable, when you're tired, when people don't believe in you, when progress seems invisible. In those moments, you must return to your purpose. Remind yourself why you began. Write it down. Speak it out loud, because your purpose is your anchor. It keeps you grounded when the storm tries to pull you away. When everything feels uncertain, your purpose gives you direction. When everything feels meaningless, your purpose gives you strength. There's something magnetic about a person with purpose. You can see it in their eyes. They move differently. They talk differently. They radiate conviction. They're not perfect. They just refuse to quit. Their purpose gives them patience. It gives them resilience. It gives them the ability to walk alone when others turn back. That's why the world follows people with purpose, not because they're the loudest, but because they're the clearest. Purpose doesn't eliminate pressure, it elevates it. It transforms the weight into workout. Every challenge becomes a chance to grow. Every rejection becomes redirection. Every failure becomes feedback. When you operate from purpose, nothing is wasted. Even pain becomes part of your preparation. And slowly, you realize that the very things that once broke you were actually shaping you for the person you were meant to become. At the end of 30 days, if you commit to living with purpose instead of pressure, everything changes. Your focus sharpens. Your decisions become simpler. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop waiting for motivation and start moving with meaning. You stop measuring success by how much you achieve and start measuring it by how much you impact. Because true success is not about reaching the top. It's about lifting others as you rise. Purpose gives you peace in chaos. It gives you strength in weakness. It gives you clarity when the world tries to confuse you. When you live for purpose, you no longer fear losing because you understand that as long as you're aligned with your mission, you're winning. Pressure fades, but purpose lasts. The applause fades, but the legacy remains. So when life gets loud, when the pressure becomes too heavy, silence the noise and listen to that quiet voice inside, the one that reminds you who you are, what you stand for, and why you began. Protect that voice. Follow it relentlessly. Because once your purpose becomes louder than your pressure, no obstacle can stop you, no failure can define you, and no force can break you. That's when you transform from ordinary to extraordinary, not because the world changed, but because you did. So make a deal with yourself. For the next 30 days, choose one habit that aligns with your dream. It could be waking up early, reading daily, journaling your goals, exercising, learning a new skill, saving money, or practicing gratitude. Do it every day, no matter what. Don't wait for perfect conditions, create them. Don't chase results, chase growth. Because when you master one small habit, you prove to yourself that you can master anything. And remember this, the extraordinary are not born. They are built one day at a time through pain, patience, and persistence. Your 30 days can become the foundation of a lifetime. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Because extraordinary doesn't come from doing different things. It comes from doing small things differently, with passion, with belief, and with unstoppable commitment. If you truly want to transform your life, don't wait for the right time. Make this moment the right time. Set your goal. Define your 30-day habit. Protect it like your life depends on it, because your future does. At the end of those 30 days, you won't just have a new habit. You'll have a new identity. You'll walk differently. You'll think differently. You'll feel differently. Because somewhere between day 1 and day 30, you will have discovered what most never find: the power to turn the ordinary into the extraordinary.